Welcome to the For Real About Real Estate Book Club. My name is Irvin Beecham, and we are going through the book Your First Home with Gary Keller. Still in chapter one, but I want to roll down to the four principles of the buying process. And as I read through this part of the book, um, I thought about some things that I had experienced, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So we're going to skip number one. We're going to go to number two. And this, I don't have page numbers. I apologize because I'm reading the Kindle book. But the four principles of the buying process is where I am in the book. Number two, I want to start with number two, and I want to share. But first, I want to read an excerpt from the book, and then I want to share why I believe this is important. So, number two, principle number two: the best deals are usually win-win. Now, in my experience, I have known that to be a true statement. When I have a smooth transaction, it's usually when the buyer and the seller both feel like they won. The seller feels like, hey, I got the home sold at the price that I'm okay with. The buyer feel like I got the home I wanted at the price I can live with, and they both felt like they won. It didn't feel like, hey, I'm the seller and I feel like I got shorted, or hey, I'm the buyer, I feel like I overpaid. They both felt like it was a win-win. So I'm going to read some things from the book and then I'm going to share. Everything in real estate is negotiable. Everything in real estate is negotiable. One more time for emphasis. Everything in real estate is negotiable. Now, on the contract, there are over 20 negotiable parts in that contract, in an as-is part bar contract. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you negotiate through that process. You may not know what all those negotiable points are in a contract, but I do. I work with it all the time. So, when you're dealing with buying your first home, and you're obviously trying to get the home at the best price possible, what you need to keep in mind is that the seller, you have to put yourself in the seller's shoes. Why would I do that? You're going to do that because that's the way you want to make a win. You want everybody in the transaction to feel good. If the seller feels good about giving you the house at a certain price, guess what? You'll get it at that price. The seller feels like you're nickel and diming them, and they get irritated with you. You may lose the property. So when you're negotiating, this is where I feel like some realtors drop the ball or they don't help educate you, and this is why I'm talking about it. You need to know your negotiating points, and you need to know that the realtor or real estate agent that you use, because there's a difference, knows how to negotiate on your behalf, so that the seller doesn't feel like they're losing and you don't feel like you're losing. Win-win. Um, Here's the other part I wanted to share. Oh, this is where I feel like agents are dropping the ball. And Gary hit in this little paragraph. He hit this point, and when I had to highlight it because I was like, yeah, I need to talk about this on the book club, because here's where I feel like a lot of agents are missing the point or missing the thing. And I'm writing a book called Agent to Agent. Another topic. Let's talk about it. Okay, so it says everything in real estate is negotiable. So don't be afraid to ask what you really want. Still, negotiations end when parties involved become inflexible. The solution? Find a win-win outcome that accomplishes what both parties really need. That's why it's important to prepare for any real estate negotiation by deciding where you will and won't be willing to compromise. That is where I believe most agents stop, or they don't educate you as the buyer. They don't talk to you. They don't talk you through the scenarios or the negotiating points, as Gary said in the book. that you may come to where it gets to that point. And they need to prepare you for certain things. Now, let me give you an example. This is why I wanted to share, because I just went through this. It's so funny in a transaction that I just had recently. So let me explain. I have a listing. We had a buyer who wanted to buy our listing. That buyer needed closing cost help. Okay. So let me explain what that means. You as the buyer, need, if you have everything, maybe your down payment and some of your closing costs, but you're just a little short. Remember I was telling you about the down payment assistance program? Well, they don't pay closing costs, they pay down payment. Down payment assistance. So let's pretend that you need help with your closing costs, which is a few $1,000s most of the time. Okay. These buyers needed help with their closing costs. They originally asked for $10,000 in closing costs. So when they submitted their offer, they asked for $10,000 in closing costs, which took $10,000 away from the seller's net. Meaning that's what, at the end, the seller is the person who has to pay for that. You're asking the seller, help me with $10,000 to buy your house. That's what you're saying. So, this, I'm just going to give you this scenario that happened with me. This just happened. So, of course, the sellers are like, whoa, that's a lot. That's going to cut our bottom line. But okay, let's do it. We'll help them out. They had a sad story, and they said they'll help them out. Great. Okay. So, now they agreed to help them with $10,000 in closing costs. We go through inspection. The inspection comes back. They find, I want to say, 14 things that they think they want the seller to fix before closing. So here's what I told the other agent. I said, hey, I understand that now we're at the point where you guys are asking for repairs, and that's fine. But where we are right now in the seller's mind, because I'm representing the seller, like I said, the sellers have already given $10,000 to the buyer for closing costs. Now you're asking the seller for more repairs. Is that wrong? No, that is not wrong to ask for repairs. But let me say this, like the book just said, win. If you're going to ask for $10,000 in closing costs, do not send the seller a laundry list. It was about 14 different things they had on the repair list they wanted fixed before closing. So now the sellers are like, whoa, first of all, we gave you $10,000 in closing costs. Now you're telling us to fix 14 things before closing. We don't want to do it. Just like you just said. Negotiations end when the parties involved become inflexible. They were done. They said, look, we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom right now. We're not giving them any more money for fixing anything. So let me tell you, let me give you a little insight, because like I said, I was dealing with a seller. After home inspection, I guess the seller was there when they did the home inspection. The inspector showed him part of the home that needed to be repaired, that they were going to have to show the buyers. And guess what? The seller said, well, you know what? I'll probably fix that myself before closing. Now, just hear what I just said? He told me that. But what happened was, when the buyer asked their agent to send me a laundry list of things. Now the seller is like, too much. I'm not doing 14 things before I sell my home. I'm off to Georgia. I'm not trying to do all this. First of all, let me go back. It's an as-is contract. Okay, there are two contracts. There's a standard contract, which have repair costs factored into the contract, and then there's an as-is contract that does not have repairs in the thing, in the contract. I'm sorry, I don't want to say thing. They don't have repairs into the contract. So the agent sent me a as-is contract, which is what the sellers wanted to sell a home as is, which is the proper contract to send me. But then they sent me a laundry list. Now, let me tell you what I told that agent. I said, hey, I see this long list, and based off my conversation, and I will never speak for my client, but I said, based off my conversation with the sellers, I don't think it would be wise to ask for 14 different things to get done before closing. And you know what she told me? Oh, no, the buyer needs that done. They need every single one of those things done before closing. So I asked her again for clarity. I said, let me understand you. You're telling me that the buyer needs all 14 of these things addressed before closing on top of the $10,000 closing costs. And she told me, yeah. Now, what I did was I asked her a third time. I said, well, let me put it like this. Why don't you speak with the buyer and ask them to give me 2 or 3 things that they really want done? You know what she told me? She spoke for a client, number one. She did that a lot in this transaction, which I'm going to talk about that in my book, Agent to Agent. Never speak for your client. Anyway, but we'll talk about that another time. But look, she told me, oh, no, they need all that done. Everything on that list needs to get done, period. So guess what happened? The seller said, no, I'm not doing none of that. Nothing, zero. Now, I just told you a few minutes ago that he said, yeah, I probably was going to fix that. He showed me that, and I saw it, and I said, okay, I can fix that, and I was going to fix that and make it right and whatever. But because they sent a laundry list of things to fix, it made the seller say, no, I'm done. I'm done with these guys. I'm done. Now, there were other things that went on in the transaction during the negotiation part that made the sellers a little irritable, which I'll have to tell you at another time. That's a whole other story. But the point is, when I read that part of the book, it made me think about them because the parties decided not to. Now, they've already done inspections. They had to do a well inspection and a septic inspection, septic pump, and home inspection. All of that money came out of their pocket before they even got close. And all they had to do was say, let's just go ahead and go to appraisal. Never got to appraisal. Never got that far because the seller said no. And then they said, well, why don't you just give us $2,000? Said, no, we're not giving you anything else. You buy the house like it is with the $10,000 in closing costs, or you don't buy the house at all. And the buyer said they don't want to buy the house at all. So that's a situation where they both decided, I'm not moving and I'm not moving and I'm stopping here. Look how close they were. They were this close and they stopped because the buyer felt like, well, I'm losing $10,000 and then you want to give you another $2,000. The buyer felt like, well, I'm losing. I just spent my money on a home inspection. I got the septic pump. I got the well pump, well inspected. And now I find these other things in the home inspection that I need done. Now, let me tell you something about the 14 things on that list. Out of the 14 things on that list, it was only one thing that really was important on that list. And it was the thing that the seller said he would have fixed in the first place. But because the agent decided to send a laundry list of repairs to the seller, because legally I have to tell them legally what the buyer's asking. I can't just fix this and no. That's why I spoke to the agent 3 times. And I gave her 3 opportunities to say, well, let me just talk to the buyers and see what they can take off the list. Because there were things like outlet not working, microwave door broke on the microwave, Okay, that don't need to get fixed. Okay, I won't tell that. It does need to get fixed. But if you are in a situation where you need to buy your first home, do not let minor cosmetic things stop you from getting your first home. When you speak to your agent, which we're going to get to in later on in the book, when you speak to your agent, you need to make sure that agent knows that, just like it said, your agent needs to tell you things that can possibly go wrong. They need to give you all the scenarios. They need to tell you what you're responsible for as the buyer and what the seller's responsible for. They need to tell you that if I submit an as-is contract, the seller is not required to pay for any repairs, period. Now, if you want repairs to be included, well, you say, well, I want to be able to, no house is perfect. So you can always find something to fix on a house. And if you want repairs done before your closing, ask your agent to submit a standard contract. And if they don't accept the standard, then move on. Because in as is, it's the seller's obligation. They'll do it if they want to do it because the property is being sold as is. Okay, so I didn't get to the other part. Well, yeah, I am going to get to the other part. I wanted to share that because I felt like that was important. And the other one, whoops, I passed it. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to stop right here because I went kind of long on this one. And I'm very passionate about this thing because when you're buying your first home, it's important not just that you get a realtor, that you get a realtor that's got some experience, that know what they're doing. And if they don't have experience, here's what you do. Say you want to use your cousin Joe that got his real estate license last week and never sold a house. What you need to do is ask cousin Joe to find somebody in the office that's an experienced agent that will help him and walk him through the transaction. And cousin Joe need to get that experienced agent part of the commission, a referral fee for helping him and help you. Do not do this alone, and do not do this with an agent who does not have experience in buying a home. So that's it, guys. We're gonna stop right there. Didn't get a chance to get to them, don't worry about it. We're gonna stop here. If you got any questions, if you want to go over the other three, I do have another one I want to share. I'll probably just come back on another video and share it. But that was it. And if you have any questions, please put it in the discussion box, put it in the comment box below. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't joined the book club, there's a link in the description for the book club to join that. If you join the book club, you'll be seeing these videos before they go to YouTube. So if you want the latest videos, you can hit the bell notification and wait for it to come out, or you can join the book club and see it prior. Either way, this book club is for you. So I'm Irvin Beecham. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next video.